If you're spending 10 to 30K a month and you think the secret to 100K is finding new winners, you are wrong. That mindset is exactly why your ROAS is volatile and why you feel like you're burning cash. Most people think skating is finding a new winner, but it's not. I audited an ad account last week. The founder, let's call him Alex, was spending 40K a month. He told me, I feel like a hamster on a wheel. We launch 20 new ads, we find one winner, it dies in 5 days, and then we start all over again. He thought he had a creative problem, but what he actually had was an iteration problem. Here's the deal. If you're stuck between 10 and 50K a month, you're probably trying to brute force your way to the next level by launching net new ads. But net new ads are risky. They're volatile. They burn cash. Most people think skating is about finding a new winner every single week, but it's not. At this stage, real scale comes from iterating on the ads that are already working. Here is the reality most agencies won't tell you. Net new ads are risky. By definition, a net new ad is a guess. You're guessing on the hook, you're guessing on the body, you're guessing on the CTA. That means the failure rate is expected to be high. On the other hand, iterations are safer. An iteration starts from validated elements. You already know the hook works or the angle works. You're building on a foundation that has already made you money. If you want to stabilize your cash flow and actually scale, you need to stop obsessing over testing and start building what we call your iteration muscle. But here is where Alex and most operators in the e-com space at this stage get it all wrong. The reason you fail at iteration is that you treat every ad that gets one sale exactly the same way, like a winner. But as time went by, at my agency 99 Ads, we realized that there are actually 3 different types of winners. And if you treat type 1 like type 3, you will kill your own performance. So today, I'm going to show you exactly how to identify the 3 different types of winners in your account right now. And I'm going to give you the specific framework for how to treat each one so you can print money from the ads you have already paid for. Let's get to work. So before we break down the 3 types, we need to address the single biggest behavior that destroys ad accounts. I call it the premature winner label. Here is exactly what happens. You launch a new test. On day 1, an ad gets 3 sales at $15 CPA. You get that hit of dopamine, you think this is it, we found a winner. You don't wait to see if it holds up for a week, you don't stress test it against broader audiences, you immediately move it to your skating campaign and you double the budget. And what happens after 48 hours? The CPA spikes, the ROAS crashes, and you are left wondering what went wrong. The problem isn't the ad. The problem is the way you're diagnosing your winners. Most operators think a winner is simply an ad that gets a few profitable sales, but that is a dangerous oversimplification. Just because an ad works at $50 a day in a testing environment doesn't mean it has the structural integrity to spend $1,000 a day in a scaling environment. When you treat every ad that gets a sale as a scale-ready winner, you are essentially trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of wet sand. And this is the exact wall we hit at 99 Ads a few years ago. We were finding winners, but our accounts were still volatile. We realized we were leaving millions on the table because we didn't understand the nuance of our own data. When we stopped labeling everything as a winner and we started categorizing them based on how they won, everything changed. Our client results didn't just improve, they stabilized. We stopped burning budget on lucky spikes and started compounding actual assets. So here is the new rule. Never look at a high ROAS and just say scale. Instead, you must triage that creative into one of 3 buckets. Knowing which bucket your ad falls into tells you exactly what to do next. It tells you if you should kill it, if you should stack it, or if you should multiply it. Here are the 3 types of winners you are seeing in your account, whether you realize it or not. You have the false winner, the low profile winner, and the Grand Slam winner. Let's start with the one that burns the most cash, the false winner. This is the one that burns the most cash and tricks the most sophisticated buyers, the false winner. We've all seen this ad. You launch it on Monday. By Monday night, it has a 5 ROAS. The CPA is half of your target. You feel like a genius, but then you check it on Wednesday. The performance has fallen off a cliff. The CPA has tripled and the sales have stopped. This is a false winner. It's defined by a short-lived spike in performance that burns out almost immediately, usually within 24 to 72 hours. Here is why this happens and why you need to stop taking it personally. This performance spike isn't because you made a great ad. It's usually just the result of a favorable CPM window or some attribution issue. The mistake most operators make here is trying to revival that false winner. They see that day one ROAS and they think the potential is there. I just need to tweak it a little more. So they spend budget bumping it by 20%, or they relaunch it, or they start iterating on the hook. Stop doing this. If you increase the budget and it collapses immediately, it is a false winner. If you relaunch it and it fails to match the initial performance, it is a false winner. At 99 ads, our protocol for this is very simple. Archive it. Do not try to save the ad. It doesn't have a future. Now, you don't have to throw everything away. You can salvage validated components. If the hook stopped the scroll, take that hook and put it in your building block repository. If there is something that obviously doesn't work, add that to your building block repository as something that you don't have to repeat. But do not waste another dollar iterating on the ad body itself. Accept the false signal, archive the creative, and move your capital to something that actually has legs. Now let's talk about the most undervalued asset in your ad account, the low profile winner. The one most agencies kill on site, but they shouldn't. Here is how you spot this ad instantly. It crashes in your testing campaign. In your ABO setup, it's printing money at $100, $200 a day. But the moment you graduate it in your scaling campaign or a high budget CBO, it chokes. Either the algorithm gives it zero spend or the CPA goes through the roof immediately. Here is what usually happens next. You see it fail in the scaling campaign, so you turn it off. And then, this is the tragedy, you forget about it. You treat it like a failure because it didn't survive the scale environment, and that is a massive mistake. Low-profile winners are not designed to be Grand Slam. They're designed to be layers of stability. They have a specific sweet spot in terms of ad spend. Maybe that ad can spend $1,000 a day, but it can spend $200 profitably every single day of the month. If you simply left it in the testing ABO at its sweet spot and stacked 10 of them together, suddenly you're adding $2,000 a day in stable spend without ruining your efficiency. So how do you iterate on these without breaking them? You have to use what we call the low profile to Grand Slam framework. Usually a low profile winner is capped by a single constraint. You need to look at your metrics to find a choke point. If the hook rate is high and the click-through rate is weak, your visual is pulling attention, but your problem framing is losing the click, so work around that. If the CTR is strong but the conversion rate is weak, your offer framing or proof block isn't strong enough. Work on that. Once you find the choke point, you need to rewrite the ad. You swap exactly one building block. If the conversion rate is the problem, keep the hook, keep the angle, and just swap the proof block or the CTA. And here is the most important part. Retest it at the original budget. Do not jump straight into scaling, obviously. Run the new variant at the same low spend cap where the old one was profitable. If the metrics improve, then you have unlocked the headroom to scale it. If not, you still have your original low profile winner printing money in the background every single day. Finally, we have the third type, the one every brand dreams about, but rarely knows how to handle when they actually catch it. This is the Grand Slam winner. This ad behaves completely differently from others. It scales aggressively, it works across multiple campaigns, and most importantly, the CPA holds steady or even improves as you double, triple, or quintuple the budget. When you find a Grand Slam, your instinct is to celebrate, but what you should be actually doing is protect it. At this stage, Grand Slam are rare. When you have one, you don't mess with it. You guard it, and the way you scale it isn't by forcing more budget into the original file until it breaks, it's by multiplying it. At 99 ads, we use a strict framework called the 20% speculation rule. Because this ad is already a winner, we know 100% of it works. So when we create a new version, we keep 80% of the ad exactly the same, and we only allow ourselves to change 20%. We execute this in at least 3 different specific phases to ensure we never break the DNA of the winner. The first phase is early iterations. We keep the script, the body, the offer, and the CTA completely intact. We only change the first 3 seconds of the ad. New visual, new sound cue, new first line. The goal is to extend the lifespan of the ad by refreshing the scroll stop without touching the conversion mechanism. Phase 2 is the script iteration. Here we keep the hook exactly as is because we know it grabs attention, but we tighten the body. We cut the fluff to make it shorter, or we add a validated proof block to make it longer. The goal is to increase retention without losing the initial grab. Phase 3 is the fine-tuning, and this is probably my favorite way to scale a Grand Slam winner. We keep the script and structure 100% identical. We just change who delivers it or where they are. Same words, different actor. Same script, different location. This allows you to match the creative to new audiences without risking the messaging that is already printing money. If you have a Grand Slam, respect the data. Lock the angle, iterate the execution, and ride that wave for months. So, now that you know the 3 types of winners, the question becomes, what do you actually do with this information when you plan your ads for the next week? There is actually a specific mathematical ratio we use for this that we call the weekly portfolio mix. I don't have time to break this down in this video, but if you're interested and you want me to shoot a dedicated video on exactly how to calculate the mix, drop a comment saying portfolio below and I'll make sure it happens. Now, here's the reality. You can spend the next 6 months trying to build this iteration muscle from scratch. You can argue with your media buyer about what a false winner actually looks like, or you can just install a system that already works. If you're tired of the volatility and you're struggling to find winners in-house, we can literally install our entire creative system into your company. Or if you're exhausted from writing briefs yourself and spending hours in endless creative meetings, we can place one of our trained creative strategists directly inside your business to run this for you fast. The good news is you don't have to guess your way to 100K a month. If you want to skip the next 6 months of learning curve and opportunity cost, head over to 99ads.com/demo and book a call. We'll audit your entire setup, tell you exactly which stage of scaling you are stuck in, and show you how to fix it. So once again, head over to 99ads.com/demo and book a call. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.